pay off for them tenfold.
There's still doubters who say he needs to prove he's worth the money.
This is a guy who's never won a playoff game in a big spot.
Are the Dolphins legit Super Bowl contenders?
No. When they win, it's Tyreek. When they lose, it's Tua.
In the ground game, I need to see Devon Achane. I need to see Raheem Mostert. And I need to see somebody else besides Tyreek command that respect from opposing defenses.
Does anybody think that Tua has proved that he's a $50 million a year player? Not a chance.
You can't win in football if you need warm temperatures to do it.
Mike McDaniel believes in him. Mike rehabbed this dude. Tua was broken under Brian Flores.
Shay Sharp, day 2, back from vacay. Good morning, everyone. Welcome into First Take. Of course, the Hall of Famer Shannon Sharp, the one and only Stephen A. Smith. Ryan Clark is going to be here, the Super Bowl champion, and another Super Bowl champ, Damian Woody, in just a bit. And I am
Good morning, Molly.
Molly Karam. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, Molly. Shay, what's up, baby? What's going on, man?
Stephen A., I'm doing good. I'm doing great, Stephen A. How you doing, Molly?
Excellent.
Yeah. You sound a little better today. You sound a little better today with the audio and all of that stuff. So, I expect you to be even better. I know you got beat up on a little bit yesterday, but we're here for it today.
But you know what? I need you to tell the American people that it was the audio. It was not me. It was the audio.
I got it. It's the audio because, Shay got some palatial studio that hasn't been completely set up as of yet. So they got to work on the audio.
Yes.
They got to work on the visual. We got to get you a new chair, too, me personally. I mean, it makes you look smaller. No, that don't work. We know how big you are.
All right,
you got to get a different chair. You know what I'm saying?
Executive producer, let's work on the technical difficulties.
We're working on all of that. We're working on all of that. It's going to be all right.
We'll all get it together. Guys, listen, it's preseason. We'll be ready for week 1, Shane.
Molly, when I moved in and got everything situated,
Yeah.
they were on their way to set up the camera in my home. They called and say they were diverted to Stephen A. I'm just putting that out there. That's what I was told.
Likely story. Yep. Sounds about right, Shannon. Makes sense.
Yeah.
It's kind of true. It's kind of true. It's kind of true.
Welcome to my life, Shannon. All right, guys, let's get the party started. We start things off in Miami. Tua Tagovailoa isn't holding back his disdain for former coach Brian Flores any longer. The Dolphins quarterback opened up about Flores in an interview on the Dan Le Batard show on Monday, calling him, quote, a terrible person. Flores, who comes from the Bill Belichick coaching tree, was the Dolphins head coach from 2019 to 2021, and the team drafted Tua before his second season with the number 5 pick in the 2020 NFL Draft. Here's Tua on his former coach versus his now coach, Mike McDaniels.
To put it in simplest terms, if you woke up every morning and I told you you suck at what you did, that you don't belong doing what you do, that you shouldn't be here, that this guy should be here, that you haven't earned this right, and then you have somebody else come in and tell you, dude, you are the best fit for this. Like, you are accurate. How would it make you feel listening to one or the other? And you hear it more and more. You start to actually believe that. Basically been, 2 years of training that out of not just me, but, a couple of the guys as well that have been here since my rookie year.
All right, Shannon, you know what? I try to lead with love, speak life into people, but I'm not a football coach. What's your reaction to Tua's comments?
Well, I'm not surprised. Stephen A., as a parent, you probably understand this as well as I do. A lot of times we parent the way we were parented. Sometimes when our parents yell at us, we turn around and yell at our kids. And so Brian Flores grew up, as Molly mentioned, under Coach Belichick. And the same thing happened to Josh McDaniels. That's how he coached. He yelled, he screamed, he basically told the players they were less than, and eventually it gets old. At the end, and I understand some players I wanted to be coached. Stephen A., I told all my coaches, I want you to coach me hard, but I am not going to let you curse at me. I am not going to let you disrespect me, because I believe everybody deserves a certain level of respect. But when you go overboard, and I get it. Brian Flores wanted Justin Herbert. Stephen Ross wanted Tua. Obviously, the owner wins out over the head coach. And so I don't get what Brian Flores, if what Tua is saying is true, I don't get what he got out of trying to break him. To break him, to build him up, you have to understand as a coach, you cannot coach everybody the same. My college coach told me this. He said, son, I'm going to treat all of you guys fair, but I'm not going to treat you the same. And so while you trying to beat Tua down, you're breaking his confidence.
But it's like he's trying to run a one-man band out there. Behind his seat and leave a comment below. This is a make or break season. He's got to make an impact. Good morning, guys, and welcome back to the Brandon Mason Show.
I
want to tell you something, guys. I had a lot to think about yesterday, and we are going to dive into today a quick topic, obviously. Coach Brian Flores, ex-coach of the Miami Dolphins, and Tua had it out during the time there. A lot of people didn't know. People in the locker room probably knew, but a lot of people didn't know. Before I go into that, I got my coffee lined up right here. Good morning to all you guys. You can hear me loud and clear. Put a Y in the chat. Make sure you guys are rocking and rolling with me right now. We're going to dive into a lot of conversation. A lot that maybe wasn't clear for a lot of people. But listen, it's Tuesday. It's the 20th. We're in August. Welcome back to the show. Look, a lot of people in this topic right now, I think it's making national news, making national headlines all over media right now, all over social media, all over YouTube. And that's why we had to wake up this morning. We had to talk about it. We're going to talk about, obviously, Tua Tagovailoa, the quarterback of the Miami Dolphins, ex-coach Brian Flores, the relationship. Was he a terrible person? That's the question. Did he treat Tua like crap? All the way down to a lot of other things. We have a ex-former player that basically peed on a passenger on a plane. We're talking about that today. Tyreek Hill wants to bring flag football to the Olympics. And then we end with Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark, is she getting the respect she deserves right now? Broke some records, all-time assists as a rookie in the WNBA. We're going to dive into it right now and talk about it as we move forward. Good morning to you guys watching live and people that will watch this after the live stream on the platform right now. Tua opens up about ex-coach Brian Flores. Now, obviously, people are going to tell you right now the relationship. Do you coach people different? Do you coach players different? Did Brian Flores coach Tua too tough? And in the chat right now, I dropped it in there to see what you guys think. Was Brian Flores too hard on Tua? Was he too much of a brutal type of coach? Did he understand how to coach Tua, their quarterback for the Miami Dolphins? We all know, a lot of people know now, apparently he wanted Justin Herbert, who was with the Chargers, and owner Steve Ross wanted Tua Tagovailoa from Alabama, and they got it. And obviously, the owner wins, right? So they pick up Tua, and Brian Flores, maybe he was hurt about it, butthurt about it, upset about it, maybe didn't want him. Maybe he did. But circling right now in the locker room, circling in the media, is that he was considered a brutal coach to Tua. And Tua was like, look, I didn't want to be there. Tua had problems showing up to the facility, is what we're told right now. Not being able to show up to the facility, being upset about showing up to work. Here's what happens right now. Tua opens up about this. The question is, why now? Why is Tua getting out there right now and making it happen and explaining the situation, explaining the dynamic, getting out there and popping it off now? I can tell you why right now. Because Tua has a lot more confidence. This is the new era of Tua. This is the Tua with some great talent around him. This is the Tua with money, a big contract signed right now. The new era, the new placement of his life, a new father. He's moving on. And he wanted to open up an interview and let people know how he actually felt. In the chat right now, put Miami Dolphins, put hashtag NFL, let people know what we're talking about right now. Was Tua too soft or was Brian Flores too hard on him? A lot of people are going to tell you, you have to coach certain players different. And why I'm saying this right now, there's certain players out there, even myself, and I even listened to Shannon Sharp talk about it, listened to Stephen A. talk about it, a lot of people talk about it on social media. I wanted to be coached tough. I wanted to be respected, but I wanted to be coached tough. I believe Tua was coached tough by Nick Saban in college, got a chance to step in obviously in college before he got to the National Football League, step in a national championship game, right? And had to step in there and said, whoa, I'm on a big stage with Nick Saban for Alabama, go out there, win this football game as a freshman. I think there was a lot on his plate, and I think he was coached tough. I think he was believed in. I think he felt he was believed in. And I think when he got in there and threw that touchdown pass, a lot of people that were watching Tua were like, holy shit, this guy is the next biggest thing. Jalen Hurts in the National Football League. And he's a big topic too. And he's one of the biggest things in football as well for the Philadelphia Eagles. No shame to him, no hard feelings to him. Went to Oklahoma, became a superstar, gets drafted with the Eagles, and he's leading them in some great games. Nothing against him. But Tua had the opportunity to lead Alabama to that national, championship win. Game-winning touchdown pass was coached difficult by Nick Saban. But now he gets to the National Football League, and his head coach, Brian Flores, the ex-coach, apparently was too difficult for him, too tough on him, and he didn't want to show up to the locker room. And all I'm saying is this. I think the situation was Brian Flores was like, this is my team. I'm going to do it the way I want to do it. And instead of maybe, and again, I'm not in the locker room. I'm not being coached by him. Maybe there was a mold that he had to say, okay, for job purposes, even in National Football League, let me coach Tua the way that it's going to work out. Let me coach Tua in a position where it's going to work out. And I got all these pictures, obviously, we pull them up all the time. But look, Tua has some great weapons with Tyreek Hill and Jaylen Waddle. But maybe, if you look at Brian Flores, maybe Brian Flores was like, look, we're going to run this show the way I want to run this show. When you show up to Dolphins Stadium and you get on the field, I'm going to run this like a business, but I'm going to run this like a tough culture. And let me pull this picture up for a second. We're talking Brian Flores, a guy who is not built like a kid. He's no Coach McDaniel. This dude will show up on the field, and he's got the eyes on you right now, right? Like, you can feel his presence. Let me tell you something. A lot of people, I will promise you it's a good thing. For most people in the National Football League, they need this. Why? Because you show up 22 years old, making a shit ton of money, sometimes 21. Excuse me. Let me sip this coffee for a second. Sometimes 21 years old, a little bit younger. You show up, you need some discipline in National Football League, especially getting a big-time paycheck. You're the guy walking around through all those cities. Brian Flores, I would imagine, would be a pretty good coach, a tough person, but a guy that's on your team as a coaching staff to help you out. Here's the problem. He came from Patriots. Belichick was a tough coach as well, was tough on Brady, but Brady responded different. Brady responded where he said, look, I'm going to go out there and prove why I need to be here, and prove why I'm a beast, and prove why you can get tough on me. I'm going to show up and get it done. I don't think Tua responds like that. Tua doesn't respond like that. I think he's got excellent morals. He's a big believer in Christ, and he's a big believer. He's got it there on his face there. He shows up, his whole family was excited about him playing all the way across the country. Growing up out there, showing up, playing for the Miami Dolphins on a big stage. And Brian Flores, for whatever it works, whatever it was, the whole history behind it, could not get it done to come eye to eye with Tua and become that guy. That's why he's not there anymore. And good morning to everybody in the live stream right now. Put the dice in the chat. And if you're watching this live right now, put Miami Dolphins, put Tua, put it in the chat right now, put Tua versus Brian Flores. Let the people get on there and let it circle around the internet right now. Because listen, let me break this down for a second. They are different coaches. Brian Flores is a coach, and then Mike McDaniel is a coach. And let me ask this question. Tua boasts about Dolphins coach Mike McDaniel, right? He's got his new coach out there, and he's like, look, this is great, and this is the relationship difference, right? If this guy shows up, and he said it pretty honest. He said, look, Brian Flores showed up and told me I wasn't going to amount to shit and wasn't good and a terrible person. This is coming from the internet sources now. Let me help you understand this. I'm not breaking all this down from my perspective. I wasn't in the locker room. But this is the respect I think that he wanted, right? Like, he wanted that relationship where he could have Mike McDaniel there showing up, the guy that's going to show him and say, hey, look, that was a nice pass. You're supposed to be here. You're the guy for us. You're the quarterback I want on the roster. You're the guy I want to get that extended contract to. You're the guy we believe in. You're the future of the Miami Dolphins. Man, you're an excellent player. That's what Tua wakes up to now, and that's a lot of that locker room wakes up to now. Some people respond to that good. Some people respond to that excellent. Some people do not. Right? Like, some people believe that's not going to work. Some people actually believe that it's important to get that, that push, that person to tell you what to do, that person to get up there and say, look, you got to operate like this. And I'm just saying, when I watch a coach like that and I see what they got going on, on one hand, you're like, come on, man, you're a National Football League. You got a coach out there who's going to push you to be great. But then here's the problem. The entire locker room now, people on the roster, a lot of them liked, obviously, Coach Brian Flores. A lot of people were like, this guy's an animal out here telling us we're not amounting to shit, not going to. All I'm saying is this. If it's your job and you're showing up in the National Football League as the coach and you're there, and look, Brian Flores, probably a great person off the field. I'm just saying, to keep your job and purposes of that is more like the owner wants Steve Ross the owner Steve Ross wants Tua. I might want somebody else. I might want Justin Herbert. I might think Tua is not worth shit. I might want some. But because your owner wants Tua, you got to work with that mold. And I think a lot of people respond different. And I think Tua did not respond in the way that was going to be great for him. Now, here's the problem. He gets fired. He moves on. He fired. He quits. He resigns. The whole situation. And it was a race thing and all these other problems. What it came down to was his relationship with Tua Tagovailoa wasn't good. It was turmoil, and he had to go. And then all of a sudden, Mike McDaniel comes in and he shows all kind of love and praise. And I think he knew the situation. He understood the assignment. He understood that if he showed up and gave praise and love to Tua, he was going to have a quarterback together, a relationship that the Miami Dolphins can grow on, and they can bring tons of talent into that locker room, that Tua can be there, and now you're seeing it now. You're seeing the growth of it. I got all these amazing pictures here of him walking around, coaching, and now, obviously that little situation might be Dana's little quirky walking around, but he's the guy walking on the field who'll show up. He'll have a little suit on. He runs off the field. He's part of the whole dynamic, obviously, and even went through the whole situation with Tua with the injuries. Coach Mike McDaniel was supporting him, was behind him, and I think Tua just felt a lot of love, a lot of respect by his new coach, McDaniel. And now that McDaniel has been there for some time, I think that was just the route that he wanted to go, and he just feels a lot better. He feels like the support factor is there, living across the country, moving to Alabama, and then showing it in Miami, having your teammates at a young age, having obviously in that locker room, the people in the operations, your quarterback coach, your head coach, your offensive coordinator, the ownership, all the way up the chain. You want them to believe in you and think you're supposed to be the guy. And I don't think that he believed Brian Flores thought he was the guy. And he said on all these reports, he said, oh, well, they think, basically in the interview, Tua basically said that he believes that Brian Flores is a terrible person. Not a terrible coach, a terrible person. If you're a terrible person, that's a whole different conversation. That's more like you were disrespected, you were treated unfair, you were disrespected, and you were kind of shit on the team. That's what it's like. It's not like, hey, he was a tough coach. He was on me. He was telling me what to do. Those tough coaches from way back when used to show up and kick you in the ass and say, get it in gear. That's not what Tua is representing in this conversation. Tua is representing in a situation where he's like, no, that's not what happened. He's a terrible person, which leads me to believe that he felt he was disrespected in so many ways by Coach Brian Flores. And I'm just saying that's a tough situation to go through. That's a tough operation to show up to work every day feeling like that. And again, I'm not saying that he did do that, but that is what obviously Tua has been responding to. And now in the interview after that, people are starting to open up and going, why now? And the reasoning why now is because Tua, like I said, Tua is moving on to the next chapter. Tua has moved on to a new establishment. He's a father now, a little bit more seasoned. He's got more players around him. Jaylen Waddle, Tyreek Hill, OBJ, Mostert in the backfield. Some new talent on defense. Ramsey comes in. Poyer comes in. An excellent team they're going to try to build this season. And I think that big-time contract, that big-time money said, all right, let me settle down for a second. Let me get ready to go. It's time to move into this season. It's time to move forward this year as a new Tua Tagovailoa. And he had that in his background. He had that in his mind. He had that weighing him down. And he wanted to get up there right now and explain what has been bothering him in that interview. And he brought it to life. He opened up and talked about it. And he said, look, at the end of the day, he's happy that he's got his new coach there. But his former coach, ex-Miami Dolphins coach Brian Flores, was a terrible person and was not the guy for the job, and he felt he was disrespected in so many ways. And that is exactly why Coach Flores is not there anymore. And let me tell you something. When I saw Coach Flores coaching, he's a tough guy. I thought, man, the Dolphins might need this. The Dolphins really might need a guy like this. They got a lot of players. This might work out. And I was giving Coach Flores a lot of credit. And I think a lot of these guys need the discipline. But maybe he pushed Tua a little too far. And then when he was down, did he let him that hand or did he pick him up, right? And then it was like, here's your hand, pick him up. Or did he say, nah, you're not the guy. You're not good. And I don't know, but that's what Tua's basically saying. And I got to tell you, that's some tough shit to talk about. I think it's very awkward. And then moving on, like I said, to the new coach, feels like the difference with Mike McDaniel is like, oh my God, you're my guy. I love you, better conversation, better communication, more love, more support, more feeling like when you show up, you're going to get a lot of love. And let me tell you something. I do understand the difference between showing up and having a coach that really cares about you. And let me tell you, a lot of times you play college football or the NFL, you might not be best friends with the defensive coaches. You're an offensive player. The defense is busy. I mean, let me, at practice, they want the defensive ball out. They want you to be in trouble on offense. Let me tell you, they want their defense balling. They want that head coach to know the defense coordinator is getting that defense ready to go. So you might be closer to your offense. And more importantly, you better be close to your head coach, your offensive coordinator. You know, if you have a quarterback coach, if you have people up there helping in operations, you got to feel connected. You got to feel loved. You got to feel blessed. And I don't think Tua felt that. And that is exactly why Coach is gone. Moving on to the next piece of the pie here. Tyreek Hill is pushing for flag football in the Olympics. Okay, let me break this down for you a second. Tyreek Hill wants there to have a presence in the Olympics for the NFL and for players. Why? It doesn't have to be NFL. It can just be flag football. Guys that want to play flag football. Why does he want this? I can tell you why he wants this, because he was in that conversation. In a second, I'm going to bring it up right now about what he was upset about, obviously, with Noah Lyles talking shit about people that didn't have the right competition and shouldn't be a champion. And Tyreek Hill's like, when he looked at the interview and Noah Lyles like, a champion of what? He goes, I'm a champion. We ball out in football, ball out in basketball. We deserve it. And I'm going to get in that in a second about that battle that's still continuing right now. But Tyreek Hill, man, he right now, I'm just saying, Tyreek Hill wants flag football to be in the Olympics. Do you think flag football should be in the Olympics? Yes or no in the live stream right now? Do you think flag football is a sport they should put in the Olympics? They're putting everything else out there. So whether you want to or not, I'm just saying, you look at all the other sports like breakdancing and things like that. Flag football doesn't fall too much further. I mean, flag football is probably way ahead of breakdancing, of curling. There's certain sports out there that you're like, hey, if you're going to be playing bocce ball in the Olympics, I think you better let flag football, those famous athletes, get out there and have some fun. And then there's players out there that are like, what? And they said some things on the news were like, why does Tyreek Hill think that he's going to be good at flag football? He doesn't play flag football. They're like, he's in regular football in the NFL. He's not going to be a good flag football player. Have you seen Tyreek Hill in open space? Tyreek Hill would be an amazing flag football player. Now, I don't know if it should be in the Olympics or not, but I'm just breaking this down. Like Tyreek Hill said, it's time to put flag football in the Olympics because Tyreek Hill wants to get a medal. And in the chat right now, who would get the gold medal? What country would get the gold medal in flag football? Like, this should be an easy answer. But like, the U.S. is already winning mostly everything on TV. Now you put flag football out there. You want to know why all these countries are not going to want flag football out there? What would be the reasoning for all of them to cover Tyreek Hill? I mean, the NFL can't even cover Tyreek Hill. To put Tyreek Hill out there in the flag football with no tackling and the ability to move around, you don't even have a lot of physical contact. It would be a joke, and I think Americans obviously would pull up and they would get the gold medal again in something else. And that is exactly why, if you ask me, when he says, let's put it in the Olympics, people are like, well, who are you going to play against? Like the NBA, like who are they going to play against, right? And that's part of the conversation right now that we're talking about. And speaking of Tyreek Hill, his mother, hold on a second, I got some. Tyreek Hill's mother was arrested apparently for slapping her friend, which is a conversation that there's like over some jewelry, like slapped her friend. Tyreek Hill's mama's out there. She's standing on business also. She's like, I'm not playing any of these games. Or I believe it was over jewelry. I hope I got that right. But apparently his mom was arrested for slapping some woman. I believe that was her friend. But anyway, hey, that's just a little conversation just to throw your direction. But how about this? So Tyreek Hill's conversation with Noah Lyles, the battle continues because Noah Lyles again got out there and said, oh, they're not real champions. Those basketball players are not real champions. Instead of Noah Lyles coming across the finish line and winning that race, and I told you how I felt about it. I got up there real quick and just said how I felt real quick in a nutshell. Like when you win the Olympics, when you get first place, second place, third place, whatever the case may be, and you get up there and you thank your country and you thank God and you thank all these people and you're excited about it, and man, all my training I put into that. Instead of, if you didn't hear this before, he got up there and he was like, these basketball players in the NBA are like, they say they're the champions, but the champions of what? And I'm like, Well, I was confused by that too. Like, you're part of the United States, and the U.S. won the Olympic gold in basketball, and you're looking at LeBron James, Steph Curry, like these kind of players, and you're like, oh, you're the champions, but the champions of one. Like, you don't believe that LeBron James and Steph Curry are like actual champions. Like, they ball out in the NBA all the time against our own players in NBA, obviously, and you're looking at that going, they are champions, regardless if they beat one team, two teams, three teams, four teams. Basketball is a sport. Basketball should be in the Olympics. It's just that we ball out so crazy, and you can't stop us. That is exactly why people are like, well, basketball, you didn't do anything, and I don't know why that would be. And Noah said, Noah Lyles, like, that the champion of what? So obviously Tyreek Hill steps in, and he's like, he's pissed off about it and goes, don't talk shit, man. I'll show up and I'll beat you in a race. He literally told him on the little interview there, said he could beat Noah Lyles in a sprint anyway. So he's like, hey, put us in the Olympics so we have the opportunity to get a gold. Because obviously the Miami Dolphins in the NFL, they can win a Super Bowl, but they cannot, well, can they win a Super Bowl? That's a question. But in the NFL, you can win a Super Bowl, but you can't get a gold medal. Putting the flag football situation into the Olympics would be pretty damn interesting. But I'll tell you this right now, I don't believe anybody would have a chance to play against USA in that. Now check this out. I got a topic for you that's pretty interesting as well. Another interesting topic, ex-football player. Okay, ex-football player, I have it here for a second, arrested for peeing on a plane. Not just peeing on a plane, okay? Peeing on a passenger on the plane, okay? Now, when you're seeing this picture here, and again, I didn't know this gentleman. I'll be honest, I didn't know him. Godster Chairless, I hope I say it right, Godster Chairless, arrested for peeing on a passenger. Now, just for the sake of having enough space at the bottom of our lower third right here, it says ex-NFL player arrested for peeing on plane, but he peed on a passenger. He literally peed on a passenger on a plane, on an aircraft. People are like, how do you pee on somebody? And so it's like, the disrespect, apparently, when they landed, he was arrested. And he said, well, you know what? It was a judgment. It wasn't a judgment of my real character. It was a judgment because I took medication. And when I took that medication, it put me in an awkward state that should not define me, myself, or my character, but peed on a passenger. Now, listen, like, there's been a lot of times in life where shit hits rock bottom. There's been a lot of times in life where you might not want to go outside. There's been a lot of times in life where you get in an argument, you get in a fist fight, you have a hard time. But I'm just saying, to pee on a passenger on an aircraft, how does that even happen, right? So look, I just want to bring that to your attention because we're talking football right now. We're talking sports. Before we move on to Caitlin Clark, I just want to say that was an interesting topic. I had to bring it to your attention so you guys knew, because I'll bring it to you all the time just so you guys can know what's going on with updated news entertainment here on our platform. Shit is going to keep happening. Does Caitlin Clark get respect in the WNBA? And this is the part I want to talk about. I think this is so important. Caitlin Clark was a beast in Iowa. When you watch Caitlin Clark break all those records, all-time leading scorer in college basketball at Iowa, she was showing up and she was stunting on people. And it was showtime. She was hitting threes. I got videos on here starting next week. We got videos pulling up on our platform while we're talking so we can communicate all that with you guys live on the platform right on our screen. Caitlin Clark is a world-renowned basketball player. She's brought so much to women's sports. And now Caitlin Clark is in the WNBA. And like Shannon Sharp said, let this lady cook, man. Let this woman ball. Let her cook. Let her get out there. Show her the respect that she deserves as a WNBA player. Wasn't even in the Olympics. Caitlin Clark wasn't even in the Olympics. And I got pictures on here of all these people that were posting stuff. And this is one of them right here. Was like, you need Caitlin Clark to beat us. Like they literally are like, I don't know what you're doing, but you need Caitlin Clark to beat us in basketball, because without her, shit is not going to be good. And the fans were low. A lot of people didn't go watch basketball. Why? Because they wanted to see Caitlin Clark play basketball. That's why. They wanted to see the best player, quote unquote, the best player in the world. She was the all-time leading scorer, is the all-time leading scorer in the history of college basketball right here Caitlin Clark, and she's had her competition. Women like Angel Reese, a phenomenal basketball player as well. Angel Reese as well says, I got a ring, put it on there. Obviously, some great battles in basketball they've had, and she is phenomenal as well. But Caitlin Clark is different. And the reason why Caitlin Clark is different and why she deserves way more respect, for one thing right now, she has the rookie record of assists in WNBA in her first season, and she's going for not just the rookie record, she's going for the all-time record. And early on, people were like, okay, she had a rough start to WNBA. Not rough start, a rough start compared to what people think Caitlin Clark is, obviously, because she went from being in college basketball to the pro level, and there's an adjustment. There's an adjustment for your teammates. All these new players on your team are no longer who you had before. The rhythm is off, number one. Number two, when you get drafted first pick in the WNBA, you don't go to the best team. Let me break that down for you as well. You go to a team that might not be that damn good. That's number two. Number three, her adjustment and showing up, you need to let her get started. Let her gel, let her get rocking and rolling. And let me tell you something, Caitlin Clark is rocking and rolling now, and she's got the rookie record of assists. She's moving forward, like I said, to get the all-time record for an assist player in WNBA. And on top of that, a lot of people are like, well, Caitlin Clark, she's not that good enough to be in the Olympics. I know. Who are you watching in basketball? Because right now, Caitlin Clark has put all women on the map for sports. Watching Caitlin Clark in the WNBA, people, if I'm wrong, guys, let me know. In the chat, put a Y in the chat right now. If you agree with me, put an N in the chat right now. And put Caitlin Clark. Put hashtag Caitlin Clark to get this spinning around. Caitlin Clark has put women basketball and women's sports. I'm breaking that down again, and I'll say it. When you hear Caitlin Clark, you think basketball. But now you're like, holy shit. Caitlin Clark is really good, and she's not playing like an average female. She's playing way above the greatness of players in WNBA. And I could say that because there's some great players. Again, Angel Reese, one of the best players right now in WNBA, was great when she played at LSU. The difference is this. Angel Reese plays tough, plays great. She's going to be a hard player all the time to play against. But Caitlin Clark is someone you want to build your team around because she's a showstopper. She's someone, she shoots all over the court. She's someone that people should really be watching. And all the guys that watch sports, and they watch, obviously, men's sports more than anything, I think she opened the doors for people to say, not so fast, watch women's sports because we exist. And for all those guys out there, including myself, when you watch basketball and you watch sports and you think for 1 second that you could beat Caitlin Clark in basketball as a guy, I'm sorry. I think you're misunderstanding who you're watching. When I get out there and if I play against Caitlin Clark and I'm a guy and I'm a lot taller than Caitlin Clark, a lot bigger than Caitlin Clark, and I can practice all I want, Caitlin Clark will make me look stupid on the basketball court. Caitlin Clark will make a lot of college basketball players in the men's college basketball look stupid on the basketball court. Caitlin Clark is not your typical basketball player. She's someone who can get out there and, again, change the game at any given time. And I think Caitlin Clark should get a lot more respect than she's getting. And Iowa, she did, of course. In college basketball, she got a lot of respect. She was all over the world. Some people didn't like her. A lot of the other team, members didn't because they were competing against her, obviously. But at the end of the day, Caitlin Clark is a phenomenon. They don't come around a lot. There's not a lot of Caitlin Clarks showing up in basketball. If there was, they'd be breaking records. Caitlin Clark is breaking those records. And now in the WNBA, I'm just saying, like Shannon Sharp said, let this lady cook. Let her ball out. Let her get her love and respect that she deserves, that she should have been in the Olympics. I know next year when they have, in the next several years, when the Olympics comes back, Caitlin Clark is on that list right now. I can promise you that. She doesn't have to play from now until then, and she's going to be on that roster. And people are like, well, shit, why isn't she out there? There's a lot of great players out there, obviously, that are talented. A lot of players I did not name today that are great. And they deserve to be on a big stage. They deserve to be in the Olympics. They deserve to do a lot of great things. But all I'm saying is Caitlin Clark should be on the stage in the WNBA, getting a lot more respect than she's currently getting right now. As we head out our show today, I just want to tell you why it was important to get on here today. More importantly, it was all major topic of conversation, as you know, was how Tua opened up about Coach Flores, Miami Dolphins coach, and why this was an important topic, because these players too, before I leave you guys with today, a lot of people forget these players come in at like 21, 22 years old. Like Tua now is in the next chapter, right? He's in the next chapter. And I brought that to the attention because I said, look, maybe Tua was early on in his career in the National Football League. Now, he's obviously in college football, had a tough coach with Nick Saban. I just talked about that. But maybe, just maybe, when he got to the NFL, there was a lot of changes for him. And I'm not trying to put him where Tua, he just should be treated a lot different than everybody else. What I'm saying is, as a quarterback in the National Football League, showing up a lot of injuries, trying to make a name for yourself, trying to build a lot on your plate, a lot on your back, a head coach comes in, and I believe that, honestly, I didn't think so before, but I do believe that you do have to coach people different. Just like in school, you have to teach people different. And I don't know if this was Tua being too soft, and I don't know if it was Brian Flores being too hard, but I can tell you what I do know is that you do have to adjust how you coach players in National Football League and any other sport, but because this is the kind of stuff that happens. Not only did it, hurt Tua and it hurt the Miami Dolphins, Coach Brian Flores lost his job based on this, and it became a world-renowned conversation, and it was, is it a racist thing? Then it was, well, we're going to send him somewhere. He needs to go coach somewhere else. And then it was, well, the Miami Dolphins, they only hire this kind of coaching staff, and if they hire him, then they're... It became a lot more than it had to be if people would have just broke it down and explained the situation. Now, I think, in all fairness, I think people actually did try to explain some of this conversation. It was sparring a little bit in some of these conversations. People did talk about it. I actually did read on some things where coach was too tough. There's a lot of tough coaches out there. And back in the day, those coaches would have chewing tobacco in their mouth, and they would kick you in your ass and tell you to get up, and you'd be running. They'd be like, keep on running. And you're like, holy shit, man. And nowadays, people have a lot more to say. Players have a lot more decision-making. They can get up and I hate to use this as a term, and I'm not putting this on Tua's term. I'm just saying there's a lot of prima donnas out there. And it's not just speaking of football. There's a lot of prima donnas out there where they like, I want to be traded right now. I don't want this. I want to be traded right now on little things. But on big things, maybe this could have been a big thing where Tua felt he was disrespected. Not coached hard, but maybe he felt like he was disrespected. And his new coach is showing him love, welcoming him with open arms. And that is probably why Tua feels more comfortable now. And remember, I'll lead you guys with this. He's on to the next chapter. He's on to the next step. Having a family, right? Kids is the next chapter. Moving up, getting older, a new chapter. New players, new teammates, a new chapter, and more importantly, his extended contract worth over $212 million or more now is sitting pretty in the driver's seat like, woo, okay, I'm loved here now. I'm respected here now. I want to be here now. People want me to be here now. And with his new coach, obviously, sitting there with him in Coach Mike McDaniel, who he boasts about, he just feels that much better. And if I'm wrong, let me know in the live stream. Do you feel that Coach Brian Flores was coaching him too hard? Do you feel that Tua is just too soft? And I got the poll up there. I'm going to end that poll here in a second. And so you guys can see what the actual poll was right there. I just dropped it in the chat. Look, this was an important conversation for a lot of reasons, because I think right now in the National Football League, a lot of teams are having struggles. A lot of teams right now are struggling with their coach and the quarterback. And you can see it because if you look around the National Football League and you look at all those coaches, they believe in their quarterback, like, this is my guy. Those teams are growing and they're confident in them. And even when they're not winning, when you look at the Jaguars, you see Trevor Lawrence, like, we're building around him. We're building around him. That's the guy. Like, Trevor Lawrence is the guy. Like, we're not knocking that at all. When you move around the National Football League and you find those teams where they go, this is our guy, we're paying our guy, this is our guy, those teams, I believe, are going to flourish for the long haul if they know how to build around that roster. And Tua is one of those guys, I believe, right now who needed a lot of love, a little support. And with all those injuries and concussions and problems and in college having all those injuries and stuff, I think the right coach has to bring out the best into it and build all those people around him. And I think that's what Coach McDaniel is doing. I don't know if Coach McDaniel will be there for the long haul. I don't know if the Miami Dolphins will be in the playoffs or they'll be in the Super Bowl this year, but they have one hell of a team, one hell of an opportunity. And it just so happens that right now, Tua decided to really open up during a live interview about Coach Brian Flores And that is the type of conversation that people want to hear about right now in that locker room to get more of that tea, that scoop of what it's like behind the scenes. How are you really feeling about your coach? How are you really feeling about your ownership? How you think you're being treated? And that is why this all is opening up right now. I appreciate you guys joining us today on our show. I had a lot of fun having this conversation because this is important stuff. In the live stream right now, will the Miami Dolphins make the playoffs? Put Dolphins will not or Dolphins will. I want to know what you guys think. And listen to this. Thursday, we have a game. We have a big-time game. We got the Chiefs. We got the Ravens. We got a live stream play-by-play on Thursday night. Obviously, tomorrow we're live in the morning at 9:55. Make sure you guys are here. We have a lot to talk about tomorrow. And on 9:55 on Thursday, we're going to have our play-by-play for our game right here on this platform, our night game for Thursday night. A lot of people during the season, if you don't get certain channels, NFL Network, some of these platforms where they're streaming the games, we're going to have them right here. We're going to have them right here live. If you're watching this right now, hit the like button. If you agree with what we're talking about today, was it a conversation that people need to hear? Hit that like button, leave a comment in the chat, and let us know how you're feeling. If you watch it after the fact, if you watch us after the show today and you're not watching it live, let us know how you feel. Yesterday, we had a long conversation about Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. Why it's important is because we're bringing you sports and entertainment here on this platform. We're going to hit sports. We're going to hit entertainment. If something big happens, we're going to bring it to you right here. If it's sports related, we'll bring it to you right here. And if it's not sports related and it's something that's making national news, we'll bring it to you right here. And we're going to have the full debate, presidential debate, right on this live stream, just so you guys know. During the debate, you can watch it live on your TV, you can mute it, and you can listen in and have fun with us and hang out because we're going to be bringing you all the information, all the tea, the scoop, the facts right here on this platform. I greatly appreciate you guys. If you're in the building right now, put the flag in the chat. Get the USA chants going and drop the dice out there because we appreciate all the Mason mobsters as we're building the platform. We're expected some big time stuff, and we're signing new deals, new sponsorship deals we're going to have in the studio, sending us some bikes. There was another situation sending us all kinds of gear, headphones, all that kind of stuff. Some things will be given away on the platform as we receive them from the sponsors. We'll be giving those away to the Mason mobsters out here so you guys can enjoy those because I don't need all that shit in my studio. I have a lot of stuff over here, and I would love to pass that to someone who might need it. So I appreciate you guys. I will see you guys tomorrow morning at 9:55. Make sure you guys are here early. A lot of people will come in. There's some topics that people love that they want to hear about. And there's some topics that people don't want to hear about. But I'm bringing you everything right here on the Brand Mason Show so you guys can see it first. Bright and early at 10 a.m. every single day. And for our games, remember our live play-by-plays Thursday night, Sunday night, and Monday night football. 3 days a week, live games right here, live conversation, live scoreboard, and you can hang out with me for the watch parties. I appreciate you guys more than you guys know. I will see you guys tomorrow morning, 9:55, being here. Some big topics are coming. You guys aren't going to want to miss it, and some special guests. See you guys tomorrow morning. Have a great rest of your day.
Another double shot, double cream, double froth, double pump, double whip, double hot, double calf, double sweet. Hey, did you know that Discover doubles your cash back at the end of the first year?
You are cut off.
You earn, we match.
Debbie.
Unlimited cashback match.
Good news. A house just popped up on the MLS. Do you have time for a quick video tour?
That would be fantastic.
Oh, wow. This place has the kind of space you've been looking for.
Space would be great.
Expertise, just one of the many ways